Hi, this is Dr. Sunil Garg on behalf of Essentials of Acute Care, an educational hub for all those who are interested in critical care and saving lives. Today I am going to discuss about antibiotic selection in acute care part 2. Here we will discuss about what is adequate antibiotic therapy, what is sepsis and how it is different from an infection. Sepsis is an infection which is complicated by potentially life-threatening organ dysfunction due to dysregulated systemic inflammatory and immune response. While in infection, there is no organ dysfunction and whatever response occurs in response to infection is not dysregulated. In sepsis, it is marked by the beginning of any organ dysfunction remote from the site of infection. Like in the case of lung infection, there may be renal dysfunction. And diagnosis is primarily clinical combined with the culture result showing infection. What is septic shock? Septic shock is defined as sepsis which is requiring vasopressor therapy to maintain a mean arterial pressure of more than 65 and increase plasma lactate level of more than 2 millimole per liter. Whenever sepsis and septic shock or any other infection is treated, antibiotics should be given adequately. So here what is the meaning of adequate? It means the dosing should be optimum. There should be full high and loading dose of each agent used should be given to the patient. It has been seen that failure to achieve peak plasma target on initial dosing for aminoglycoside and fluoroquinolones, trough concentration for vancomycin, and concentration more than pathogen MIC for longer duration in case of beta-lactam are responsible for clinical and microbiological failure. Bacterial killing with antibiotics can be optimized by understanding the pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic parameters. In next few slides, we will learn about all these parameters. Let's have a look on the few definition first. Pharmacokinetic is concerned with the time course of the antimicrobial concentration in the body. It starts from the absorption till elimination, while pharmacodynamic is concerned with the relationship between these concentration and the antimicrobial effect. So in summary, we can say what body does to the drug is pharmacokinetic and what drug does to the body is pharmacodynamic. The primary measure of antibiotic activity is the minimum inhibitory concentration, and minimum inhibitory concentration is the lowest concentration of an antibiotic that completely inhibits the growth of microorganisms in vitro. The three pharmacokinetic parameters that are most important for evaluating antibiotic efficacy are the peak serum level, the trough level of antibiotic, and the area under the serum time concentration curve. Integrating these three parameters with the MIC give us three PKPD parameters which quantify the activity of an antibiotic, and these parameters include P peak MIC ratio, T more than MIC ratio, and the 24-hour AUC MIC ratio. Pharmacokinetic factors which should be considered in critically ill septic patient while prescribing antibiotic therapy includes hemodynamic status of the patients. Such patients usually have unstable hemodynamics and they are on the vasopressor therapy. Such patients usually have increased cardiac output. There is increased extracellular volume, so there is markedly increasing volume of the distribution for the drugs and it reduces the drug concentration. There are variable kidney and hepatic perfusion and it affects the drug clearance. There may be altered drug binding due to reduced serum albumin concentration and there is augmented renal clearance in early phase of sepsis. All such parameters affects the drug antibiotic prescription. Septic patients are different from typically infected patients and it affects the optimal antimicrobial management of such patients. How septic patients are different from typically infected patient? It includes there is increased frequency of hepatic and renal dysfunction in sepsis, high prevalence of unrecognized immune dysfunction, predisposition to infection with resistant organism, and there is increased volume of distribution for most antimicrobials in septic and septic shock patient. Therefore, antimicrobial therapy should always be initiated with a full high and loading dose of each agent used in septic patient. As discussed, based on PK/PD parameter, there are three groups of antibiotics. One is based on P-peak MIC ratio, where goal of therapy is to maximize the concentration of antibiotic. above MIC value. This is the region. This group of antibiotic is called concentration dependent killing and concentration dependent antibiotic which have prolonged post antibiotic effect. The antibiotic which comes under this category is aminoglycoside, daptomycin and fluoroquinolones. The second type of group is where T more than MIC ratio is important for their efficacy. Here aim is to maximize the duration of exposure of antibiotic with bacteria to have bacterial killing. This is the reason this group of antibiotic is called time dependent killing and this group has minimal persistent effect. The antibiotic under this category mainly includes beta-lactam antibiotics, erythromycin and linezolid. The third group is where PK/PD parameter which is important for their efficacy is 24-hour area under the curve MIC ratio. Here aim is to maximize the amount of the drug. This group of the antibiotic has property of both concentration dependent and time dependent killing. An antibiotic which comes under this category is azithromycin, clindamycin, vancomycin, dalfopristin, cunipristin and tetracycline. To better understand PK/PD parameters, now have a look on this graph. This is a concentration time graph after giving an antibiotic. Here antibiotic is administered and here antibiotic is completely eliminated from the body. This is the peak level which is achieved by an antibiotic after administration and this green area indicates area under the curve. It means the total amount of the drug to which bacteria was exposed. And this red line indicates minimum inhibitory concentration of the pathogen and this interval from here to here indicates T more than MIC means the period where the drug concentration was more than the pathogen MIC. Now coming to PK/PD parameters, first parameter is T more than MIC. It indicates for how long within a dosing interval drug concentration or the antibiotic concentration was more than the pathogen MIC. It is suggested that for the mild to moderate infection, this interval should be more than 60%. And for severe infection, T more than MIC should be 100%. Second parameter is P peak MIC. This is a P peak and this is a MIC. It is suggested for aminoglycoside that it should be 8 to 10 of the MIC value. Third parameter is 24-hour AUC MIC ratio and it is suggested for vancomycin this value should be more than 400. First we will discuss about aminoglycosides and fluoroquinolones. For these two antibiotics, peak drug plasma concentration should be optimized because peak drug plasma concentration is associated with the clinical and microbiological success and it should be achieved in the initial dosing itself. For aminoglycoside, once daily dosing of 5 to 7 mg per kg gentamicin equivalent should be given in normal renal function, while patient with the chronically mildly impaired renal function, once daily equivalent dose must be given, but the duration between two doses must be extended up to 3 days before the next dose. For patient with the severe renal dysfunction, here dose must be reduced and therapeutic drug monitoring must be done for the trough concentration and it should ensure that it is sufficiently low to minimize toxicity. Here it is important to remember that peak drug plasma concentration is associated with the efficacy while trough concentration is associated with toxicity. For ciprofloxacin, the dose should be 600 mg IV every 12 hourly and for levofloxacin it is 750 mg IV every 24 hour with the patients with the normal renal function. Regarding vancomycin, the efficacy of vancomycin is partially concentration dependent and here it is important to understand that the efficacy of vancomycin does not depend on the peak level but it depends on the trough level and the dosing should be done to trough target of 15 to 20 mg per liter. Trough level should be measured just before the fourth dose initially and the IV loading dose of 25 to 30 mg per kg should be given and it should be based on the actual body weight. For beta-lactams, which includes penicillin, cephalosporins, monobactams and carbapenems, the killing of bacteria depends on time plasma concentration of the drug is above the pathogen MIC relative to the dosing interval, and it is known as T more than MIC. We can understand it like that: if we are giving any drug 6 hourly, within that 6-hour period, for how long antimicrobial concentration is above the pathogen MIC. This is T more than MIC. For mild to moderate illness, minimum T more than MIC should be 60%, and for severe infection including sepsis, it should be 100%. The simplest way to increase T more than MIC is to use increased frequency of the dosing rather than increasing the dose. Initial dose can be given as a bolus or rapid infusion. Suppose if you are giving meropenem as an infusion over 2 hours, for the bolus dose you can give it over 30 minutes. And following initial dose, an extended infusion of the drug over several hours can be initiated. Regarding loading dose of antibiotics, it is given for teicoplanin, vancomycin, as I already mentioned, 25 to 30 mg per kg, colistin, and beta-lactams. Here it is important to remember and important to understand that the loading dose of any antimicrobial is not affected by alteration of renal function. Renal dysfunction may affect the frequency of the administration and or the total daily dose, but it does not affect the loading dose of any antimicrobial. Regarding combination therapy, though there is no direct evidence from adequately powered RCT to validate this approach, but there are favorable evidences for combination therapy in septic shock. There is no such evidences available in favor of combination therapy for patients those who are less seriously ill, like patient of sepsis without shock. Here it is important to understand the difference between multi-drug therapy and combination therapy. If we are giving vancomycin with beta-lactam with echinocandin, so here aim is to increase the empiric coverage or broaden the pathogenic coverage, so it will fall under the category of multi-drug therapy. But when we are giving the amikacin in combination with piperacillin tazobactam for pseudomonas, then it is combination therapy, because here aim is to enhance the pathogenic clearance or enhance the clearance of pseudomonas. Antibiotic treatment duration of 7 to 10 days is adequate for most serious infection associated with sepsis and septic shock. Some patients require longer courses while others require shorter courses. Longer courses are required or appropriate in patients who have slow clinical response, untrainable foci of infection, bacteremia with Staphylococcus aureus, some fungal infection like Candida, and viral infection, or patients with the immunological deficiencies including neutropenia. While shorter courses are appropriate in some patients, particularly those with the rapid clinical resolution following effective source control of intra-abdominal or urinary sepsis, and those patients with the anatomically uncomplicated pyelonephritis. Several factors need consideration while deciding upon duration of antibiotic therapy. Like patient those who are immunosuppressed, like patient with the neutropenia with sepsis, they usually require therapy for at least the duration of their neutropenia. Nature of the infecting pathogen also affect the duration of therapy. Like patient with the uncomplicated Staphylococcus aureus bacteremia usually requires therapy for at least 14 days, while patient with the complicated bacteremia requires treatment as an endovascular infection with 6 weeks of therapy. Here, complicated bacteremia means patients with the endocarditis due to Staphylococcus aureus and patient with the metastatic infection. Patients with the candidemia and deep candida infection require more prolonged therapy. Means in case of candidemia, it requires 2 weeks of therapy after the blood culture is negative. Patient with the highly resistant gram-negative pathogens with marginal sensitivity to antimicrobials requires prolonged therapy. Nature and site of the infection also affects the duration of therapy, like patient with the larger abscess and patient with the osteomyelitis requires prolonged duration of therapy. Procalcitonin can guide antibiotic management. It can help in initiating antibiotics, altering the antibiotics, and stopping the antibiotics. Measurement of procalcitonin level can be used to support shortening the duration of antimicrobial therapy in sepsis patient. Procalcitonin also can be used to support your decision of discontinuing the empiric antibiotic in those patients who initially appear to have sepsis but subsequently have limited clinical evidence of infection. In such patients, those who have limited clinical evidence of the infection later on and procalcitonin, if it is within normal limit, then you can stop the antibiotics. A large body of literature suggests that the use of procalcitonin algorithm can speed safe antimicrobial de-escalation compared to standard clinical approaches with reduced antimicrobial consumptions without an adverse effect on mortality. Procalcitonin can also be used to assist in differentiating infectious and non-infectious condition at presentation, and the strongest evidence appears to relate to bacterial pneumonia versus pulmonary edema in emergency department. So if the patient presents with the shortness of breath and patient you are not able to differentiate whether the patient has pulmonary edema or pneumonia, procalcitonin can help in that particular condition. Here is the downside of unnecessary use of antibiotics. Unnecessary prolonged administration of antimicrobial is detrimental to society and to the individual patient. For society, the risk is of antimicrobial resistance and dissemination of resistant bacteria. And for the individual patient, prolonged antibiotic therapy is associated with the increased mortality risk, and the basis of the increased mortality risk includes cumulative antimicrobial toxicity, occurrence of the antimicrobial associated secondary infection like Clostridium difficile colitis, and selection of and superinfection with the multi-drug resistant pathogens. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, please subscribe to it. And if you have any suggestion, comments or feedback, please write down in the comment section box. Once again, thanks for watching this video.